Welcome to Blind Level Tech. This isn't just accessible tech talk. This is technology on a whole new level. We're showing you just how possible it is to live the life you want.
Greetings, this is another episode of Blind Level Tech, and I am your host, Evan Starnes, and I'm still sounding pretty nasally and congested because I'm still not over that head cold thing that I picked up over a week ago, so blah, oh well. We'll have to deal with it for this episode, but nevertheless, talking of podcasts first, at the time of this recording today, September 30th, is International Podcasting Day. I heard about that on Mastodon and I wanted to share it with y'all because, well, this is a podcast and we've got like 5 original podcasts, so that's definitely pretty cool that there's an international holiday around podcasting now. I don't know. You know, you hear a lot about those, you know, it's like International Aquarium Day or International Taco Day or something along those lines. So either way, happy International Podcasting Day to all you podcasters or podcast listeners out there. This is definitely a great time to go out there and support your favorite podcasters and, hey, maybe go find some new podcasts to listen to as well. With that being said, last week we really covered a lot of new Apple news, including some of the new iPhones, the 17 Pro and the 17 Air, iOS 26, and just all of the features coming to the Apple ecosystem. So now we're going to be switching gears and talking about Amazon, because today they had a new hardware event, and this is perfect because I honestly was kind of debating I had a dilemma of what I really wanted to cover for this week. So thanks, Amazon, for having a very well-timed hardware event that I can cover in today's episode. But they've unveiled a lot of new hardware, including some new updated Echoes and also some new updates. And there was a very heavy focus on Alexa Plus, their new revamped version of Alexa, and also some operating system refinements, which I will also be talking about near the end of this episode. And I've already said her name a couple of times, and at this point, I feel I definitely should warn you, if you're listening to this episode on a smart speaker, an Amazon smart speaker, or you happen to be near an A-Lady smart speaker, go ahead and mute it, because there are going to be a lot of wake words in this episode, and thus a lot of false smart speaker triggerings. And actually, funny enough, when I was doing research on this event, I was actually on Engadget, and at the top of the article, there was actually a little piece of text that said, you know, if you're using a screen reader, you might want to mute your smart speaker while reading this article. So that was cool to kind of see that. I don't know. I'm not sure if that was alt text, or if that's just part of the article, but really cool to see, you know, just screen readers and stuff highlighted out in the wild. And unfortunately, I had to close that page down because there's a bunch of embedded players and pop-ups. So if you want to read the article on the Amazon fall event, just, you know, be warned that if you're using something like Chrome and you're not using just like a text, like a reader mode, it's probably going to hog your computer's resources or your phone and slow it down. Like I said, I had to close the tab. But nevertheless, I've got quite a lot of stuff to talk about from this event. So let's go ahead without any more rambling and jump right in, starting with the most popular devices that we all know and love, the Echoes. And they've kind of refined them a little bit. And their new offerings include the $100 Echo Dot Max and the new $220 Echo Studio. So finally, they've upgraded the Echo Studio from the original that came out a few years ago. And they've also omitted the standard Echo now. So you either have the Echo Dot Max or the Echo Studio. I'm not sure if they will be still offering the Echo Dot 5th generation or not. They'll still be offering, though, the Echo Pop. So if you want, a nice budget-friendly Echo for under $40, that's still an option. But the new Echo Dot Max has some pretty interesting and impressive little upgrades here, including 3 times the amount of bass compared to the Echo Dot 5th generation. And I was curious at how exactly they accomplished that. And according to them, what they've done is kind of integrated the speakers speakers, not just single speaker, into the housing of the speaker itself now. So supposedly that gives, more room for bass, and, there is more, open space inside of the speaker for the sound to resonate, and it will just, inherently make it sound bigger. But they've added a tweeter on top of that. So I guess the original Echo Dots, and I didn't realize this, only had a single speaker, and it sounded pretty good. But now the new ones have a woofer for kind of that nice thumpy, bassy, low to mid range, and a little tweeter for the treble, the crisp, high end aspect of audio. So I'm definitely interested to see what this will do to the sound of the Echo Dots, and how much better it'll sound, and also if they've managed to keep the Echo Dot the same size as before. It'll also be able to adapt the sound quality to your room, or to the room that it's in. And this is interesting because basically the way it works is if you put it in like a large echoey room versus kind of a smaller space, it'll use its built-in microphones and adjust the bass and the mid-range and the treble of the sound to kind of just match the space of that room, so that the sound quality is, I guess, as good as it can be. And this kind of reminds me of a feature that I originally saw on the Google Home Max, which is basically Google's super big Google Home that was around for about $300. I don't know if you can get those anymore. And also the HomePod. So it's really cool to see that feature coming to the standard Echo Dot. And I believe it was present on the original Echo Studio as well. So obviously it's going to be on the new Echo Studio. And the new Echo Studio is now about 60%, or a little more than half the size of the original Echo Studio. And the original Echo Studio is, I think the best thing I could compare it to is maybe like a large paint can or a gallon of milk, but it's round. And it did sound pretty good, but now they've updated the drivers in it, and it also now supports Dolby Atmos and Apple's spatial audio format, because they've added a new surround sound, well, basically a home theater feature. And what this will allow you to do is connect up to 5 different Echo speakers to a supported Fire Stick and create your own wireless surround sound setup. And I'm really curious to see how well this works, with latency and, delays between the video on the TV versus the speakers connected to it. And with the new Echo Studio and the new Echo Dots, it should be pretty easy to get to throw together a nice little surround sound, or, even just a stereo setup, depending on your needs and just how you like your TV and home theaters to sound. What I'm curious about, though, is if the new Echo Studio is going to be designed similarly to the Echo and Echo Dot 5th generation. And I haven't heard any descriptions on the physical designs of these new Echo Dot and Echo Studio speakers. So I'm not sure if they're still that kind of ball-shaped spherical design, or maybe if they've changed the design to something else. But I'll have to go and, I don't know, once they become available in Best Buy, and or, I don't know, if I happen to suck up the courage and actually buy one, which who knows, then, I will definitely update you guys on how those look and my first impressions. But I'm curious to know if they've kept the tap feature and the temperature sensor. And the tap feature was nice because you could tap your speaker to dismiss alarms or pause and play music. And of course, the temperature sensor is amazing if you want to be able to know if it's a little too hot or too cold in the room that the speaker's sitting in. So hopefully they've kept those features. I'd be awfully surprised if they had omitted them. You will be able to get your hands on the new Echo Dot Max and the Echo Studio starting October 29th, but right now they are up for pre-order on Amazon. Now, the Echo Show has also seen some updates in the form of a new Echo Show 8 and an Echo Show 11, and they didn't update the Echo Show 5 this year because I do believe they updated it last year, and it's still pretty new as far as hardware, and I believe it still has good enough specs for some of the new Alexa Plus stuff that they're doing. And it also is running a very slightly different operating system, which like I said, I'm going to talk about at the end of this episode. But the new Echo Show 8 and 11 now offer front-facing stereo speakers and upgraded mics, as well as an upgraded 13-megapixel camera. Now, why does this matter exactly? Well, the first generation and second generation Echo Show 8 and, Echo Show 5, I guess, speakers, we'll just talk about the 8. It had stereo speakers on the side of the speaker of the Echo Show itself. And they sounded pretty good, but didn't exactly do a good job of projecting the sound outward towards you while you're facing the speaker. So now this new one with the new front-facing speakers should be able to do that better, and hopefully the speakers will have better bass response. And the microphones, I'm not sure if that'll mean much when it comes to doing video calls on these speakers, but hopefully it'll make it so you don't have to shout at Alexa at least as much as I do. And maybe my speakers are a little flaky, but hopefully that will improve the listening performance of these speakers. And I'm not sure if the 13 megapixel camera will impact things like image recognition. I'm really hoping, though, especially with Alexa Plus and Amazon integrating with more AI companies, to see kind of a revamped show and tell feature. And show and tell is a feature that was released quite a few years ago on the original Echo Show, and allowed you to hold something up to the speaker, ask it, Alexa, what am I holding? And she would tell you what the product was based on a barcode recognition, or if she couldn't, she'd read any text. And it was pretty nice. I didn't get it to work very much, but for the times that I had it, it was nice to be able to, it did do good on, boxes and things in the kitchen. So maybe this new camera will enable better AI recognition and better descriptive recognition for us blind and low vision folks out there. So we'll have to wait and see. Another thing, though, kind of related to the cameras that these new Echo Shows can do is, they can recognize that you have walked up to them and display relevant information on the screen. And I'm not sure if you're using the Voice View screen reader. I'm not sure if that means, whenever you walk up, your speaker's just going to start talking to you or not. We'll have to see how that works, but it is a new feature coming to the Echo Show 8 and 11. The Echo Show 8 will be priced at $180, and the Echo Show 10 will be $220, like the Echo Studio. And those will be available November 12th, but they are available for pre-order right now. They've also updated the Fire tablets as well, and they have a new Fire Tablet Max, and this is super, super good if you like to do a lot of on-the-go streaming. It's got, it's got a little bit more RAM, better processor, better screen, better battery all around, and should be solid if you're streaming Netflix, Disney Plus, or whatever. And it's a good little streaming device, and it's a good price too. It's about $150. Now, they also upgraded the Fire TV stick, and they now offer a new $40 4K Select model. And this model besides the fact that, it is going to be capable of all of the new Alexa Plus features, this model will, of course, support that home theater feature that I talked about earlier. And they've upgraded the hardware ever so slightly. So, if you happen to own a Fire Stick and it's feeling just a little bit slow or unresponsive, or if you have a 4K TV and you really do want that kind of bump in resolution, if that's a thing that matters to you, it's out. And you can pre-order the Fire Stick 4K Select for $40. They've also released some new and improved Fire TVs, because if you didn't know this, Amazon does make their own line of TVs that come pre-built in with Fire OS. And there are other TVs out there that have Fire OS, but Amazon offers their own line. So they've got some new 4K models that go from 50 all the way up to 75 inches. And those start at about $480. So, hey, if you're in the market for a new TV, or, you like to host, sports parties or watch parties at your house, or however it might be, maybe look at picking one of those up. But they've also got the new Fire 2 TVs that are a little bit smaller, and those start at about $160. And those go from 32 to 40 inches. They're not 4K. Either way, they are Fire TVs, so they have the Voice View screen reader, Fire OS, and of course the Alexa voice remote as well. And they're fully accessible from the start to set up, and I definitely would recommend them if you're in the market for a new television. Also coming to these TVs is a feature that I'd really like to try, but I don't know. We'll have to see. And it's a dialogue boost feature. And this is pretty cool because I'm sure, a lot of the times I've heard this from a lot of people. You watch a movie or a show and, the dialogue is kind of soft and quiet. And then all of a sudden there's this big scene and a lot of music and sounds and it's super loud. Or, you're watching a show and you get hit with a commercial break and then blasted by a really loud commercial. So I'm curious to see if this dialogue boost feature will kind of help prevent that from happening as much. And I don't know, it'll maybe be something I'll be able to test. I don't plan on getting a new Fire TV, but if anybody out there does get one, or if anybody knows anybody that has one, then that can try this feature out, let us know how it has worked out for you, and send it to us, feedback@aftersight.org, or leave it in a voicemail. But I'd really love to hear how that works, especially as an audio guy. That's definitely a neat feature, and I think it's kind of something that should have really been on TVs for a long time now. So that's pretty much it as far as hardware is concerned. Apart from the fact that they have come out with some new Ring and Blink security cameras, and the Blink ones actually have a nice weatherproof adapter, so you can kind of use them for indoor or outdoor. And they've got upgraded facial recognition, and will also be able to support Alexa Plus. And they've also come out with a new wired upgraded Ring doorbell as well. So they have kind of revamped that line of devices. And this is where Alexa Plus really comes into play. So transitioning more towards a software side of things here, Alexa Plus is basically, for those who don't know, it's a newly revamped, or it's basically their new Alexa 2.0. And to summarize, it's supposed to be a lot more conversational. You can do things like create step-by-step, recipes with it. It can help you find gifts or movies or shows, based on details or, suggestions that you give it. And it can also integrate through the new Alexa Plus store with other services like Uber Eats and TaskRabbit, actually. And there's quite a few others, actually. But I said TaskRabbit because I don't know, I've used that service quite a few times here for moving furniture and things. So it's interesting, and I'm really hoping that Alexa Plus integrates with, more services. It would be super cool to be able to kind of do what you used to be able to do through the old Uber skill and like hail your ride from your smart speaker, or maybe do an Uber Eats order, or I'm definitely excited to see what happens though. And now the reason I brought up the new Ring and Blink cameras is because Alexa Plus is coming to those as well. And one of those features is its ability now to make an informed decision based on who it sees at the door and greet them. And I don't know, this is interesting. So you walk up to somebody's house and they have a Ring doorbell or a camera, and you'll just hear some voice talking to you like, I don't know, I guess if you had a package, it maybe would say like, "Hi, please leave this package on the doorstep," or I don't know. Maybe you could, if you're having a party or whatever, you could make it say like, "Hi, the party is around back." Or it does do facial recognition, so it can discern if it's you walking up, somebody, a friend or family walking up, or a complete stranger. And it's all, it's all done through AI. And if you want, I don't know, if you want to try that feature out, definitely let us know how it worked out. But it's definitely, I don't know, it's pretty interesting now. They've also added a new search party feature. This is really useful if you have a dog or somebody else's dog goes missing. Honestly, for the longest time, I had the Ring Neighbors app or service basically that I was using as part of my, because I had the Ring security alarm system, and the Ring Neighbors basically would allow you to report any incidents in the neighborhood, or if you lost a dog or something. And honestly, I saw a lot of lost dogs just in my neighborhood. And this feature will basically allow you, using a picture of your dog, if anybody's Ring camera recognizes that dog, it will notify you. And I'm interested to see how accurate this would be, especially with, very, varying dog breeds. And of course, you got to also ensure that that dog happens to just walk within range of that camera. But it almost reminds me of the Find My network, where, if you lose your phone or an AirTag or something, you can use crowdsourcing and have somebody else's iPhone locate it for you. So I'm interested to see how this works. But it will be coming out on Ring cameras and doorbells within the next month or so. So that's pretty much a good summary of Alexa Plus and some of its new changes here. And the last thing I really wanted to talk about concerns the operating system tweaks that they're making on their smart speakers and hopefully on their Fire TVs. And they've been beta testing a new Linux-based, we're going to get really technical here, new Linux-based version of Fire OS, and they've called it Vega. And for the longest time, for those who don't know, Fire OS has been based on Android. So your Echo Show, your Fire tablets are running Fire OS. It has Voice View Screen Reader and its own Fire Store, but really under the hood, it's Android. And I'm interested to see what this new Linux-based operating system will do for performance, especially on devices like the Fire Stick and with things like the Voice View Screen Reader, because I have found, especially on the original Echo Show 8 that I have and some of the older Fire Sticks that I've used, that Voice View and really just the performance of the Fire Stick in general when you're navigating around can be pretty laggy. So hopefully this new operating system will speed that up quite a bit and just improve the performance of these devices. And they're beta testing it on the new Fire Stick and Fire TVs that will be coming out. And we'll see if they're able to release that OS to older devices like my first generation Echo Show 8 or any of the older Echo Show smart speakers. But that's honestly pretty much it in a nutshell for this new Amazon hardware event. So if you've got anything that I've missed, or if you have any questions or feedback, definitely send it to us, feedback@aftersight.org, or if you like a voicemail format, leave that at 720-712-8856. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to talk about with Alexa and Amazon in the coming months, so we will probably be doing follow-up episodes, and of course, BLT Byte demos and all that good stuff. So with that being said, I'd like to thank you all for listening to Blind Level Tech. I am your host, Evan Starnes.